one of the big sector winners is around technology and home and consumer electronics. And Andrew, as I mentioned in my introduction, you work closely with Samsung. I just wondered how you're viewing the world. What's the blending between the virtual and the real world in terms of creating retail experiences?
Yeah, I guess with what's happened, it's on a fantastic acceleration of what we call harmonized retail. So bringing both physical and virtual together. So we're seeing lots of different things happening as a consequence. I think the starting point is most brands now wanting to make sure they've got their kind of basics in order around their e-commerce platforms. Huge investments being made into making sure that the customer journeys are right, the experiences are right as a starting point. And I think when we see the retail element opening up back again, it's then how do we then make those two worlds as connected as they can be, but make that journey as smooth for the customer as smooth as it needs to be. So lots of different things happening in that space, and lots of different projects that we're currently working on through I guess the growth of social and content being a much bigger part of a retail and a retailer's strategy. We're seeing lots of trends around social selling. So how do you create audiences and communities, and how do you help to create, maybe through your influencers, an opportunity to convert with those influencers in a virtual platform, in a virtual world. I think we're seeing more of the old retail traditions popping up in e-commerce, and we're certainly serving lots of customers through our e-promoters. So our teams are supporting customers online, taking them through a really clear online journey, educating the customer on the product in a video chat, and being able to almost get as close to the product as you can in a virtual world. And we're able to really track and measure the impact of those conversations. So we can see the NPS scores, we can see the increases in conversion levels that are coming off of the back of those types of online conversations. So I think we're seeing this new world of harmonized, bringing it all together, but really being able to move in an agile way, depending on whether stores are open, whether stores are closed, whether online growth is accelerating, or being able to evolve the retail offering in a way that meets those consumer needs going forwards.
And I guess, Andrew, you were seeing those trends before, as we said earlier, about everything talked about acceleration of change. But can you put some sort of scale on what you've experienced, what you've been involved with in the last 12 months that I guess you were working on before, but what's kind of happened in this 12-month period?
Yeah, so we started really with a project. I'll give one example of where we were already plugging our promoter teams into some of our core clients' e-commerce sites, very small scale. So we're talking about 5-10 promoters in the UK, and we've seen that kind of accelerate beyond 50 to 60 people now, being able to service those customers online. We're seeing lots of differences in terms of the time that those customers are coming online, the time that they need that service, the evolution of people going into homes and helping to set things up, because I guess with a world that are typically working from home, how do we close that link on getting the product and getting the product set up for that customer in a way that kind of closes that loop on the customer journey. So we're seeing a kind of a big change from having those conversations, physical, virtual, but then also all the way down to that final element within the customer journey, and making sure that those customers have got the best experience of getting that product set up at home, and also that ongoing dialogue with one of our experts. And if things need to be fixed, if things need to be checked, they've got access to those teams 24/7. So we're seeing a real evolution in the people that are helping to sell products, but also the teams that are helping to service and guide customers through the last part of that journey.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Terry, fascinated to get your thoughts, because as I said in my intro, also you've worked for two major retailers with international portfolios, Tesco and Dixon's. Tesco, an essential retailer, its portfolio has been open throughout. What have you witnessed? What have you seen? What are your thoughts on what's happened to retail, specifically around physical retail these last 12 months?
I think some of this sort of is almost amusing, really, in terms of Andrew's rightly described a journey that's taking place now, but actually it replicates a journey that retailers did 25 years ago, when service, installation, customer care was a predominant factor and benefit that retail offered before e-commerce really took off. And what you're seeing is that what we've really discussed is how we've gone through a period where retail has become pretty sterile, pretty functional, about time and motion studies. You know, certainly when I went to Tesco's for all, you know, really the whole conversation was how quick, how often, let's measure the gaps. You know, it's just time and motion, time and motion. And now what we're starting to see is the conversation now is that e-commerce is starting to become proper retail, for better description, as if it was bricks and mortar, and the journey that customers going through, and the care and the explanation of the product and all of those elements, which is what retail used to do, has been for a long time in doing, and now has to get back to catching up to what it used to do previously. And I think that's the journey we're starting to see. I think it started a while ago. I think it started actually pre-pandemic. I think with the recession, in traditional terms, you usually find businesses end up being taken over, retail businesses end up being run once. The mood in the business changes to be about heavily around risk management and things like that. So some elements of innovation and all that find themselves back-footed, if you like, and that was a long recession. I'm not sure we ever come out of it, and then bang, the pandemic hits. So that just has accelerated some of these processes, made e-commerce transactionally stronger, and then starts to be redeveloped in terms of the services and the way it operates. And retailers now are going to have to bring back innovation, bring back creative influences into their business, and step up to the plate, or they will just disappear. And when I say be creative, if you've got too much space, then you have to find a way to creatively use that space. Devolving yourself for that space is very difficult to do in a very quick period of time. So you better be sharp and you better be smart at how you're going to use that space. And that's some of the work that's got to go on now. So that would be my observation. I see this maybe somewhat differently from others, but I think, you know, bricks and mortar has to learn what it used to do. And clearly e-commerce is connecting in a way that bricks and mortar used to do.
Thanks, Terry. I think that's some really great points you've made there.